Isabelle, thank you again for joining us tonight. It's a real honor to have you here with us. And I wanted to start by asking about how your collaboration with Hong first began in 2012. As you said, this is your third film with him. And it seems to me that your collaborations have happened much in the same way that things happen in his films, sort of
random.
yes, like by chance.
Yeah, by
I
chance.
was wondering if you could share with the audience how you first connected with him.
Yes, well, the whole trip with Hong has been quite unusual. I think we first met through Claire Denis. Claire was a good friend of Hong, and I met him very briefly in Paris at the French Cinematic. And then eventually I was in Seoul, and I was presenting, there was an exhibition of my photos, not as a photographer, my photos of me. and that was shown in a museum of photo in Seoul. And Hong was there, and so we talked. And then he said, well, why don't we have lunch the next day? So we said, yes, okay. So we had lunch. And I remember he took me to a very strange place in Seoul. It was a restaurant with the roof was like roofs of cars, old cars, very strange. And we were the two of us in that very, very weird place. And then and I said, what are you doing? And, you know, the usual conversation. As I have conversations here, you know, I'm very curious. And I always ask things to people when I meet them. So I said, what are you doing next? And he said, I'm doing films. Oh, yes, okay. And then so I said, what is it about? I'm telling you the whole story because it's really part of the process, you know. Of how he makes films. So I said, what is it? And he said, I don't know what it's going to be. I just know the place where it's going to be. And I have the place. It's a place I like. And from there, I will build up the story. I said, oh, interesting. So I said, where is the place? And he said, well, it's a hotel. It's a small place. About 6 hours drive from Seoul at the seaside, like a sea resort. And then he said, well, would you like to be in it? I said, yeah, why not? I said, when does it happen? He said, well, that we must have been like in May, maybe. And he said, next month, are you free? I said, yeah, I'm free. So I went back to Paris. And then starts the process. He called me several times, and he vaguely told me what it was going to be. So I just knew that it was going to be in 3 pieces. So that was, of course, in another country, my first film. And then he started to also to think about the costumes a little bit. So I showed him a few things, and he made pictures. And then I took some of the things we watched together and some other stuff. And then he came to pick me up at the airport, which is very unusual, you know, that the director himself comes to the airport, you know. And he came...
Was in Seoul?
That was in Seoul. And he came with the main actor of the film, which is also very unusual. So, and there were the two of them waiting for me. Then he took me to a beauty parlor because he said, well, because I just came by myself. And then he said, well, we'll need a hairdresser and a makeup girl. So he took me to a beauty parlor, and they did my hair, and he said, do you like them? I said, yeah, they're very, very nice. So he said, okay. So we drove 6 hours by car to the place, and the shoot was supposed to be 13 days, and so we started. And after 9 days, he said, it's over. I said, but you said 13 days? He said, yeah, but it's over.
Did you get paid for 13 days?
Yeah, no, well, I get paid anyway. And then, no, he said, well, the money with which I did the film was for a short, so and now I have to do this short. So I have 3 more days, so I do the short, but you can go back because I'm finished with the feature one. And of course, there was no script, and there was, so he would give me the text the day before, and now on this film he gave me the text not the day before, the morning we were shooting, and it was a lot of text, like 5-10 pages, only 6 o'clock in the morning, and then we had to shoot 2 hours later. So yeah. But at the time I did in another country, it was about, I don't know, 5-6 people on set. There was a continuity, whoever she was, you know, girl or, yeah, I think she was a girl, and there was a cameraman. Of course, there was a camera, and there was sound. I mean, it was a little group of people, and then for Claire's, no, what was the other one? Yeah, right, Claire's camera that we shot in Cannes. Yes, there was also a group of people, and now there is almost nobody, only him. And the camera is getting smaller and smaller, and just a girl with a microphone, and that's it. And me, of course, and the actors. So the whole thing is really, yeah.
Actually, this is what I was going to ask you next, which is that, so your first collaboration with him was 12 years ago. You know, Hong has been so prolific, and he is one of those directors where things stay the same, but they're still different. You know, so his movies all feel very related to each other, but also completely fresh and original. And I was curious what, you know, what you noticed was different in his approach to cinema this time compared to the last 2 times. You know, in addition to just the really minimal crew, maybe even more a short turnaround script writing, like you're saying?
Well, quite rightly you said all his films are, yes, the same and never the same, yes. Because if you take, for instance, the writer, Le Hasard, enfin, I don't know the title in French, was le film, La Comédienne, et le Heureux Hasard, I don't know the title in English, the actress,
On the
the
Beach
writer.
at Night Alone, that one?
Maybe something like this. But anyway, that was I mean, they're all very different from one another, and yet something makes them just Hong Sangsoo's film. And but what I really experienced with him, that is the immense flexibility of cinema as a material, you know, because it's I mean, cinema, it goes from the infinitely big to the infinitely small, and it's completely fascinating how with Hong Sangsoo, you know, you have almost no one now to make a film. You have, and yet, and you have a film. And it's nothing. Yes, and I never saw also the someone taking such little time. I mean, taking so much time in such a short amount of time. You know, I mean the contradiction between the number of days and the way he really takes time when he makes his films, because it's it seems to be improvised, but in fact it's not improvised. There is also something very people don't really know what they're talking about, you know, when they think that it's improvised. In fact, everything is always improvised, you know, by definition, because when you do something, you can anticipate everything, but not the moment you're going to do the thing. It's improvised precisely. But anyway, so but it's very much written. You know, the dialogues are very, very precise, and so it's. I mean, I think I'm really fascinated to how he makes films, and that keeps me alert all the way. You know, almost equally what I do. You know, it's how he does it. You know, which is probably the definition of movie making. It's not exactly what you do; it's how you make it. You know, and that's the difference between a great film and not a great film. It's just how you do it, you know.
So he was giving you the lines every morning, but what did you come into A Traveler's Needs knowing about your character? What did you know?
I had no idea what was the character, you know, because there is no. Well, first of all, I never really liked the idea of notion of a character. I mean, even in any other film, you know, I'm not really interested in a character. I don't think it means anything. A character always. It's fiction, and the fiction just puts you more in prison, that gives you wings to get out of it, you know. So a character, I don't really, I believe more in, you know, exploring different states, and that's, at the end of the day, yes, you have a character, but a character, I never really knew what it was about. So it's a good surprise for me, because at least there is no character. I don't know. Maybe he told me something about a teacher, but it's a very weird teacher, you know. So even if he told me a teacher, I mean, she doesn't really look like a teacher anyway. So, no, we talked about, again, the costume, because the costume process is really interesting. He told me
to know about the green cardigan.
Yeah, the green cardigan. He said, could you bring this little green dress you were wearing in another country? No, that was the first film, in another country?
Yeah.
That was the first film. I said, Hong, I don't know where it is. It's somewhere else, but I can't find it. Okay. So he said, oh, okay, because I liked it. But, you know, that was an indication. He wanted a dress. And the day I was flying, I took a walk around my house, and I walked by, like in a movie, Hong Sangsoo's film, actually. So I was already in this kind of state. I walked in the street by this shop, and I saw, there is something which was interesting in the window shop. So I came into the shop, and I tried a couple of dresses, and I sent him pictures. He was awake. By chance, you know, because it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Paris, just before I was going to go to the airport. And he said, no, not this one, not this one. Okay, finally, I tried this little dress with flowers. He said, no, okay, this one, okay. And then I grabbed the green jacket. I said, how about this, you know? He said, yeah, and that was it, you know. And then I had the bag, and then the shoes that I just bought in Spain somewhere, whatever. I mean, really a traveler outfit, you know. And
the hat?
The hat came in Seoul, actually. I went with Kim Mini in some shops. He wanted a hat. And so we bought the hat at the, in Seoul. And that was it. But I love the way, you know, by chance, I really felt I was in a Hong Sangsoo's scene already. The whole thing is poetic. Yes.
So I'm curious about the scenes of you, quote unquote, teaching in the film, right? It's so funny, but also it seems to get at some essential truth, actually, the way Iris approaches teaching. But I was also curious about the actual scripting and directing of those scenes, because there's 3 languages operating in the film: English, French, Korean. How was that process of coming up with those specific scenes where you're talking to these characters and then sort of asking them these probing questions and then translating their answers into French phrases, giving them index cards? What was that like?
I have no idea, actually. No, but it's true. You know, he gave me the line, and I said the lines. And then I watched the film. I said, how come I laughed? How come I joked? I have no idea. It just happened. It's inspiration. No, but it's true, because, of course, you can imagine that Hong Sangsoo is not the type of guy who says, maybe you should do like this, maybe you should do like this. Why don't you smile? Why don't you laugh? I would look at him and said, come on, Hong. I mean, no, you can't. So he just films, and I do it. Oh. I don't, and that's what I like about it, you know. It's, well, I guess, you know, this afternoon, Leos Garax was talking about the power of he said something about the gaze, you know. and I like that it said the gaze, not the look. Well, I don't know, something more profound maybe about just the gaze rather than the look. And all of a sudden I thought that's all what it is about, you know. It's a gaze, you know. And it's the position of his camera, you know. And I was watching the first scene again, you know, before I was going out of the room. And I thought, you know, it's the miracle of also of cinema, because imagine that same scene with chant contre chant, but the way he lets, it's really about time and gaze, and that's what cinema is about, you know. And you feel the time, and you feel someone who really looks at you, you know, and nothing else counts, I think.
Was the makgeolli your choice or also written by Hong?
Makgeolli. I love the makgeolli, by the way. I don't know if you guys have tried makgeolli. I don't particularly like alcohol. I don't like sake, for example, but makgeolli, it's so good. But then, yeah, 2 bottles by day. I admit it's a lot, you know. But why not? I could. It's really good. It's like, it's milky, it's sweet, it's really good. And, well, I'm not the only one in Korea that likes makgeolli. Even Hong likes makgeolli a lot. And, but of course we were drinking real makgeolli, you know. So that's why it was really getting really
That's why you
funny.
don't. That's why you don't remember how you ended up laughing in those scenes.
What?
I said that's why you said you don't remember how you ended up laughing in those scenes.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Maybe. No, I don't think so. No. Yeah. I think I do remember. Yeah.
Let's open it up to the audience and take a few questions now. So just raise your hands and someone will bring you a mic. Right here in the middle, yeah.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the film as well as being with us. I've seen you acting with Castellucci's production in Milan. And that's a theater in Venice. And I'm wondering if you could talk about different process of making the film and theater in terms of your perspective being actress.
Well, I tried to not to make any difference between theater and films. Of course, knowing that there is a major difference, you know, nothing can be compared to the abstract process of theater, which is completely abstract if you think about it. You know, it's a and I really went through the most abstract experiences, you know, especially on stage with Bob Wilson and Castellucci and people like this. But for me, it doesn't make any difference, you know. I don't even, you know, I'm not saying to myself, I'm doing theater, I'm doing films. I just do what I do. And it's always surprises me. Well, not so much anymore because I'm doing so much theater. But in fact, it might be also true in films, actually. I think the less freedom you have, in a way, and the more you are alive. It's very strange. Because this rigidity of the frame, or, you know, it gives you access, it gives access to life, you know, how to make circulate life. And it's the same for in theater. So for me it's exactly the same. Although it's not the same because theater, of course, on a more anecdotic level is much more demanding. I always make the comparison, you know. You see a very flat road, you know, with good landscape, but very flat, and a big high mountain. Well, that would be the difference between films and theater. But on top of the mountain, the view is beautiful, so it's nice also.
All right, one more question. There's someone over there in the back.
Hi, thank you. I really liked how your engagement with the other actors, it felt very present and alive. I was curious, because you spoke a little bit about how when you got the lines the morning of, that seems kind of unconventional. How did, working with the director and the other actors, how did you kind of create that space, I don't know, to be so present in engaging with one another? It felt like you were actually a person, like, with you guys. Yeah.
Well, the way I relate to the Korean actors in all the films I did with Hong Sangsoo is it's really part of what it tries to say basically in the 3 films I did. You know, I mean, how people try to communicate, try to understand each other, although not speaking the same language. So. Even more in another country, there were lots of situations where I did not understand what was going around because obviously I don't speak Korean, and of course he explores these kind of situations, and again it's really part of the game. So the mere fact that they speak Korean or they speak English, but the way they speak English and I speak also English the way I speak English, creates immediately a connection or a disconnection, whatever, or something which is really the core of what he tries to express about, you know, how people relate to each other and how they are strangers to one another, foreigners, and yet equal and the same. I think that's basically what he wants to say. But again, my great pleasure when I do this is really just to explore the present moment, which is also in a way the best definition of movie making, I would say. It's just about but in a film like this, there is nothing else you can really enjoy and explore. It's the present moment of what you do. So if you put all these people together, talking to each other, the resonance of the language, the resonance of the accents, the way everybody's kind of fighting with the language to try to express more or less what they feel, that's really part of what you are. So it keeps me very busy, actually. I have nothing else to think about.
Right, we'll take one last question, just a quick one. Over here.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say, Isabelle, I'm a huge fan. And when I saw first time Piano Teacher, I completely fell in love with you.
What did you say?
The Piano Teacher.
She fell in love with you when she saw the piano teacher.
Ah, okay.
Sorry, I'm really nervous. I'm a huge fan. So my question is, you probably receive huge amount of briefs and scripts which you read. I wonder, how do you feel related to one and pick the one you want to participate in?
Yes, you know, I don't think any actor in the world receives piles of good script, actually. Pile, yeah, maybe, but not good. So, and sometimes I don't get any script, like in a Hong Sangsoo film, and that's the good one, you know. So, I don't really have a, you know, I don't wait for the good script. I wait for the good encounter, which is, of course, much more precious, much more unexpected, much more like something decisive, but certainly not the good script. But sometimes in the script there is one good line, and that's the line that makes you willing to explore that encounter. I don't know why, but sometimes you say, this line, I have to say it, you know, and that's, yeah, that's how it works. I mean, works, I'm not sure it's the right word. That's how it is.
All right, we'll wrap up there. Thank you so much, Isabelle, for this conversation.
Merci beaucoup.